Ginger's final movie of this period was 20 Million Sweethearts, starring Dick Powell, Pat O'Brien, and Ginger. Ginger had already been in two blockbuster movies with Dick Powell, 42nd Street and Gold Diggers of 1933. He had an interesting career. He did almost 24 musicals for Warner Brothers in the 30s, and then his career crashed. In 1944, he reinvented himself as a tough but good detective, starting with playing Philip Marlowe, the same character Bogart played in The Big Sleep. Later he hosted an award-winning television dramatic anthology show, The Dick Powell Theater. Pat O'Brien was one of the great character actors, part of Hollywood's Irish Mafia, and appeared with Cagney in 9 movies. He could play priests, soldiers, or fast-talking con men. He had a small role with Ginger in Honor Among Lovers, but had his breakout role in his next movie, The Front Page. He continued appearing in movies and television until the end of his life. 20 Million Sweethearts for National Pictures, a part of Warner Brothers, was Ginger's last freelance movie until 1942. Since getting out of her initial long-term contract with Paramount in 1931, Ginger had been freelancing through the studios, very bold and uncommon at this time, appearing in 23 movies and shorts for 7 studios, from huge Warner Brothers to little M.H. Hoffman Productions. They all wanted to sign her long-term, but, as covered in an earlier video, Warner Brothers and Ginger ended up in a bizarre confrontational situation during Gold Diggers of 1933, and Ginger did not appear in another movie for them after this until Perfect Strangers in 1950. I believe this movie was the last of a 4-movie contract she had with Warner Brothers. For her next movie, The Gay Divorcee, Ginger signed a 7-year contract with RKO. Ginger had successful movies for all the studios, but all along it was RKO that gave her the best roles, starting with her breakout role in The Tip-Off. I believe it was the best fit. Ginger would have suffocated at huge Warner Brothers, where little, crazy RKO was just the right environment for her. It was during David O. Selznick's reign at RKO they added their 3 big stars, Katharine Hepburn, Fred Astaire, and laid the groundwork to sign Ginger. Then she and Fred stole the show in Flying Down to Rio, and RKO just had to have Ginger. In 1932, Ginger did 2 Joe E. Brown movies for First National, a part of Warner Brothers, in one playing a fast-talking, streetwise, but good girl, and in the second a vanilla good girl, a cheerleader for Brown. For the 4 movies she did for Warner in 1933-34, in the first 2 Ginger played casting couch actresses, not hinted at but boldly stated, and in the third a burlesque performer involved in a blackmail scheme. Ginger had no problem playing these kind of roles. Ginger felt she could, and did, play any role. And she sparkled in 42nd Street and Upperworld, and had some great moments in Gold Diggers of 1933. But is this all they saw in Ginger? Had they not seen some of her recent performances playing all kinds of different roles? Thankfully, here, Ginger has a great role as a sweet, loving, loyal woman, while still nobody's fool. Ginger gets to sing 2 songs in the movie, Out for No Good and I'll String Along With You. That is fine. With Powell and his incredible voice in the movie, he is who the audience wants to hear, and he gets 4 songs. There are several other singers in the movie. The movie opens with many images of radios playing varied shows, from singing to comedy to mystery. This is a story about a radio station and a new star. O'Brien is a con man. The hotel is demanding he pay his bill, and he is fired from his job as a contracted talent scout. He comes across Powell and his great voice, singing The Flying Trapeze, which the bar crowd loves, and takes him to New York as his newest great discovery. Of course, they have to take Powell's car, and Powell has to fund the trip, because O'Brien is broke. At the station, Ginger performs in the Carlotta Soap Show. Her friend Jenkins has a kids' show, cannot stand children, and complains all the time. Jenkins was in several movies with Ginger, a solid character actor. O'Brien meets the station boss, played by Grant Mitchell, to promote Powell. O'Brien has a line of BS that is astounding in its boldness, and everyone knows it. The very popular Mills Brothers sing I Heard. According to Wikipedia, the Mills Brothers had 2,000 recordings that sold more than 50 million copies and garnered at least 3 dozen gold records. The Mills Brothers were the first African-American artists to have their own show on national network radio on CBS in 1930. They made appearances in film and were the first to have a #1 hit on the Billboard singles charts with Paper Doll in 1943. They were inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 1998. Powell is roaming the studio and comes across Ginger rehearsing, singing Out for No Good. He makes stupid faces till she shuts the blinds. O'Brien gets Powell an audition. The Mills Brothers sing How 'M I Doin'? Ginger and Powell are introduced at the coffee shop, and the two trade wise-ass comments. But then Powell walks Ginger home, and she promises to come to Powell's audition tomorrow night. Powell sings The Flying Trapeze. I was surprised to see this song was written in 1868. This novelty act does not go over well, and Powell was rejected. Actually, it's a great, funny performance. Powell can really sing. Ginger visits a down-and-out Powell, now in a cheap hotel with O'Brien. Ginger wants to go out for lunch, but Powell declines, embarrassed he does not have any money. O'Brien comes in, Powell hits him up for a few bucks, he borrows that from Ginger, and now Powell can take Ginger out. He is 15 cents short, and Ginger slides him more money, joking she had paid for the whole meal. Jenkins comes to see Powell, all excited. He has his first published song, and Powell sings it. I'll String Along With You is a beautiful song, and Powell hit #1 on the Billboard Top 100 with it. It is reprised throughout the movie, and I will post a video of it after this one. O'Brien is amazed. He had no idea Powell had such a fine voice, which is absurd for his agent. They rush down to the studio, but their cab hits the car of the owner of Carlotta Soap, the sponsor of Ginger's show, and fast-talking O'Brien comes up with an idea. Man, can he talk. So rapid it can give you a headache. Powell performs the song for Ginger, and it is, again, beautiful. She says she will do anything to help, and O'Brien explains his plan. On live radio, Ginger feigns passing out, so Powell fills in, and he is great. The owner's wife is enthralled. Ginger is so proud. The station boss calls for the unknown singer, and is furious when O'Brien walks in as his agent and tells him to get out. But then the owner calls and wants Powell. O'Brien's plan worked. Powell doesn't want it because he would be replacing Ginger. Ginger is actually happy. Her contract was brought out, and now she can do something worthwhile in the theater. Powell is realizing how special Ginger is. Powell is a huge hit. He sings Fair and Warmer, and the audience at the station and across the country loves him. Powell is to marry Ginger. O'Brien thinks they are great together, but the show sponsor is furious, says it will ruin the show, and he and the station head demand O'Brien break them up. O'Brien argues they are truly in love, but is given his marching orders. He tries to get Powell to postpone the wedding. Ginger tells the receptionist she finally has an offer to do a play, now when she cannot take it. Powell tells Ginger perhaps they should postpone their wedding a few months. Ginger is upset, but then says she will take that job she has been offered. As soon as Ginger leaves Powell, O'Brien grabs her and hints that Powell has another woman. Ginger is devastated. Powell reprises Out for No Good with the Mills Brothers, including some scat singing. Big star Norma Hansen checks into the hotel, and O'Brien plans on using this to finally destroy Powell and Ginger's relationship. He invites the press gaggle up to Powell's suite, and then phonies repeated calls from Hansen to Powell. The press rushes up to Hansen's suite to ask about Powell. Hansen's secretary answers the door. He says there is nothing to their story, but O'Brien has flowers delivered right then. The press reads the note from Powell to Hansen, and the story is planted. Hansen's secretary comes down to Powell's suite, and the press gets him drunk. He reveals he has been Hansen's secret husband for 4 years, and had to endure all her affairs. He said all her other boyfriends were too big for him, but he can handle a crooner. Powell walks in, completely in the dark, until Hansen's husband takes a drunken swing at him. Powell firmly pushes him away, but the press gets a photo and now has proof, and they exaggerate a bit in the headlines. Ginger reads it with tears in her eyes. O'Brien defends his plot, but Powell comes in, knows how these three have ruined his relationship with Ginger, and quits, hitting O'Brien with the punch on the way out. He tries to explain to Ginger, but she tells him they are through. Powell just disappears from the public view. O'Brien is still trying to promote him, but he walked out on his contract, and nobody will hire him. Jenkins gives O'Brien the idea of promoting Powell in Long Island, just outside the city. They get him a job, but O'Brien wants his involvement kept secret. They scheme on filling the place with radio people that evening. He has to have Ginger attend and tells her the truth. She accuses him of doing this just for the money, and he says, "No, not entirely. I'd like to see you two kids happy." He says Powell needs Ginger, and she agrees to come. O'Brien makes up a reason for everyone to attend. Bandleader Ted Fiorito leads the show for the radio. They reprise Fair and Warmer, followed by What Are Your Intentions, sung by the debutantes. O'Brien has them all sitting near each other. They go off the air when Powell comes out to perform. He starts singing I'll String Along With You, but hesitates and stops. Ginger jumps up and sings the song. Powell rushes to her. They embrace and sing it together. The audience loudly applauds, so they do an encore. The audience loves it, and, more importantly, the sponsor's wife loves it. The sponsor wants Powell back on the show. The studio head argues, but has to comply. They are finally married and live happily ever after. Please like and subscribe.